Okay, so appreciate you guys sliding in. We'll see how this goes. So my name's Jake Timmerman. I am the one of the offensive line coaches at Grayson High School, and just going to be talking about some different run game tags for spread offense. I know we're doing this for spread offense Twitter, so I figured I'd touch on some of that stuff. Some of you may know me from my offensive line stuff, but this is my first time really talking about like some scheme specific stuff outside of wide zone. So I went through and just looked at maybe 10 different tags that you can use to change up your base run game in the spread offense. And so we're going to talk a little bit about those. Like I said, I got 10 of them we'll talk about. They're nothing super complicated. You may have seen them all before, but maybe hopefully you'll come away with something here that you like. So like I said, my name's Jake Timmerman. There's my contact information. Probably you can easily hit me at Twitter. A little bit about me as we get started. So I started coaching in 2014. I spent my first 5 years at Northside Warner Robins High School in Middle Georgia. 14 and 15, I was the 9th grade offensive line coach. 16 and 17, I was the varsity offensive line coach. And then in 2018, I was the 9th grade quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator. Wanted to do that just to have a little experience calling plays, creating practice plans and stuff like that. Even if it was on the 9th grade level, I still thought it was a good opportunity. In 2014, my first year there, we won the state championship, which was really cool. That was a great experience to get started with. It kind of spoiled me a little bit because at first I was like, oh, this is easy, right? We just show up and we win a state championship because Northside was a pretty powerhouse program. So that was a great experience. I have not won one since, so I'm still kind of chasing that. I know what that feeling feels like, so it's pretty cool. So I'm at Grayson High School now. 2019 was my first year there. I coached the varsity offensive line along with Aaron Hill, and I thought we had a pretty great year last year. So we're looking forward to see how things go. Obviously, I know we're all kind of in a little bit of a precarious circumstances right now with the virus and the quarantine stuff going on, but we'll see how all that stuff goes, right? So first, just a little bit about why the spread offense, right? If you're here, maybe you're already a fan of the spread offense, or maybe you're kind of looking to get into a spread offense. But this is just some general points of why I think the spread offense is great, and why I think people can gain some type of advantage running it. So using spread formations, you're forcing the defense to spread the field, limiting the number of defenders in the box, and forcing defenders to play in open space. That's going to allow the running game and pass game to be more explosive, right? Tackling in open space is hard. All right. And also the less defenders you have in the box, typically the easier it is to run in the box, right? We want to stretch the defense vertically and horizontally through play selection to help us open up the short passing game and the run game. And kind of what we're really focusing on today is using a small number of simple run blocking schemes along with pass protection schemes so that the linemen become more proficient at their craft, right? The less time, and again, this is kind of the offensive line coach and me talking, the less time you spend having to coach scheme, the more time you can spend coaching technique, which in my opinion, especially for the offensive line position, really is what makes a lot of the difference. We want to be able to play at a very fast tempo with changes of pace mixed in. I've heard plenty of defensive coaches tell me that, it's easy if you're always slow or you're always fast, right? But if you have ways to mix up your tempo, then that's when things get tough and they play more of a base defense because they're not sure if you're going to speed things up or slow things down. And again, really what we're talking about today, using a variety of tags in the run game to present different problems to the defense while keeping the blocking schemes nearly identical to the base scheme. We want to take what the defense gives us using RPOs and package plays to put the defense in conflict and take advantage of the best option to get our athletes the ball in space. We will talk a little bit about RPOs today. That's not necessarily the main focus, but that is one of the one of the elements we'll talk about today. Quick, simple throws with quick, simple read progressions that a high school quarterback with an average arm can make at a high completion percentage. I know a lot of us would love to have, Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields, every year, but that's not necessarily the case, right? And so you probably need to build what you want to do around a guy that has maybe an average or above average arm. And then using screens, quick game, and RPOs to stop people from blitzing and hurt them when they do. And like I said, we won't necessarily focus a ton on RPOs today, but it will be a little bit of what we discuss. So why do we want to use tags? What advantage do using tags in our run game provide us, okay? Well, it allows you to carry a small number of base concepts, right? I've liked 4 to 5, okay? If I had to pick, I'd probably say, wide zone, inside zone, dart, and counter, right? And maybe a pin and pull type scheme, right? Or something like that, right? Just 4 to 5 simple base schemes instead of trying to run veer and ISO and power and counter and zone and pin and pull and, blah, blah, blah. You can keep a small number of base concepts while kind of moving on to the second point here, giving different looks with minimal learning, okay? Again, you need to keep it simple for your offensive lineman. Again, I'm an offensive line coach. So if you keep it simple for those guys, you're going to have more success, because it doesn't really matter what all fancy tags or RPOs or any of this you have going on. If the offensive linemen don't block, that play is probably not going anywhere. So tags allow us to present different looks while keeping it simple for everybody, especially the offensive line. On the flip side of that, it presents the defense with multiple looks, right? They're going to probably, categorize, some of these different tags we have as completely different plays, and it's more stuff they have to rep. Whereas for the offense, it's not as big of a deal, right? And so you can use some of these tags to change up the run fits for the defense. They can break up your alignment tendencies, right? So it's not always, hey, when the back and the H are on the same side, they're running counter, right? Or when they're opposite, they're running power. You can change your alignment tendencies to say, hey, we're still going to be able to run this play, even though the back is, not normally on this side, because we've got a tag to change things up. And it also allows you to get different players involved, okay? Some of the best advice I ever heard was in terms of putting your game plan and your offensive philosophy together. Think players first, formation second, and then specific plays last, right? Figure out who your best players are, all right, who you want to get the ball to. Figure out what formations give you maybe a personnel advantage or an alignment advantage, and then figure out which plays can get those players the balls in those formations, okay? And speaking of getting different players involved, also going to see some plays where you can get your tight end involved or your H-back. I know a lot of us have those H-back guys, right? They're not necessarily big enough to be linemen, but they're not necessarily fast enough to be a receiver or a running back, but they're good high school athletes, and they can make something happen, when they get the ball in their hands. And sometimes they are underutilized in terms of their skill set with the ball. And so you'll see some things here that I think are good opportunities to get your H-back type guys or your tight end or fullbacks or whatever you call them in your offense to get them the ball. And then, of course, your quarterback run game, the great equalizer in terms of numbers, right? Because that's really the only way the offense can have 11 on 11 is you get the quarterback involved in the run game. And we'll see some of that as we go along, okay? So I'm going to go through the different tags. Like I said, there's 10 of them. I'll talk to you a little bit about each one. I'll show you the diagrams. And then once we're finished with all 10 of the diagrams, then we'll go through and we'll look at some film. Okay, so we'll start really simple. First one is just a lock scheme, right? Basically what that means is you're telling any covered offensive lineman on the backside to lock on. Okay, so like if it's an inside zone to the right scheme, normally that tackle, he's taking his zone path to the right. All right, well, in this context, if he's got a 5 technique on him, he's going to turn that 5 technique out. He's going to base block the 5 technique. This is a great tag for RPO looks because it leaves, you're going to leave a backside linebacker unblocked. And you can also incorporate your H-back to account for a 6th hat in the box if you still want to run the ball, but just give, like I said, a slightly different look. I know some people call it like zone ISO or something like that, okay? So you can see the diagrams here, okay? You've got your H over here. He can come across the formation, all right, and get that backside linebacker. You could start him off on the same side as the back in a stack look, and he really just kind of inserts, like ISO. And then, of course, there's the RPO look if you want to go more of a 10 personnel spread look, right? You see the backside linemen here on the second diagram are covered, so they're going to lock on. We've got a 3 and a 5. We leave the backside linebacker unblocked, so he's the quarterback's read key for whatever pass concept you want to throw, a hitch or a slant or whatever it needs to be. A lot of you are probably familiar with something like this. Front side of your offensive line, nothing changes for them. They're all running zone, okay? So really the only thing that changes is your backside offensive lineman. Same look down here in the bottom diagram, 3-3 stack look. Again, same rules. The front side are all running their zone paths. We got a combo between the play side tackle and play side guard. We got a combo between the center and the backside guard. And the backside tackle, instead of ripping up through to cut off the linebacker, right, where you might traditionally read the end in a zone read look, okay, we're going to lock on the end, and we're going to read that linebacker again for whatever, RPO tag you want to have onto it. But again, if you don't want to do the RPO part of it, you can keep your H back in, okay, and run that insert, okay, and that would be his base rule if he's in there, is just to go lead up on that backside linebacker, okay. And like I said, we'll go through and we'll look at each one. I'll talk about them, and then we'll get into the film, okay. So the second one is called Bluff Art or Divide Art. So this is a good one if you run a lot of divide zone or split zone, okay, where the H comes across the formation and kicks the defensive end. So essentially what this now does is, again, doesn't change anything for the offensive lineman. They're all going to be blocking zone right, okay? But now the H, instead of coming across and kicking the end, he's going to bluff that kick out block and then arc around the backside defensive end to either seal a linebacker or maybe work up to a force player or a safety, okay? This is a great change up if you're running some divide zone and that backside defensive end, he's squeezing hard, right? He's wrong arming, trying to blow up your H. This is a great change up for that, okay? And then now again, it gets your quarterback involved in the run game. So again, you can see here, nothing changes for the guys up front. Again, we're trying to keep things as simple as we can. H is going to start across the formation. He's going to come across just like he's about to try to kick out that end, and then he's going to bluff and arc around, all right, and either perhaps look to seal this linebacker depending on his play. Maybe if they are trying like a squeeze and scrape team, this is a great way to account for that. He comes around, seals that linebacker at the end, squeezes. Quarterback reads the end, can pull the ball or hand it off on the zone just like you normally would. But again, this is a great job, a great change up for things at that end, coming down hard, right, trying to crash in there and blow your H up. He bluffs the block and arcs around. All right, again, good for scrape exchange. Okay, the next one here is zombie. Okay, and this goes back to when I first really started to get into the spread offense. I remember, Northside, we were very, very heavy run game personnel, and I remember watching Jake Fromm, and you guys know who Jake Fromm is, quarterback in Georgia, but he played at Houston County High School, which was in the same school district as us, and I remember watching him play, and that offense they were running, it was really cool. And so I started to get into this studying spread offense, and one of the concepts I came across was what they called zombie, or it says basically zone on the front side, man on the back side. But in this context, right, instead of reading it for like an RPO look, the quarterback is looking to run the ball, right? And this is a great way to attack fast flow linebackers. So in this context, right, it's very similar to it's the same thing as zone lock for the offensive lineman, but instead of looking to throw the ball, the quarterback is looking to keep it and run back through the backside, right? This backside linebacker wants to flow hard over the top, right, trying to chase outside zone. Okay, quarterback reads that. The hole opens up there as the tackle turns out. The quarterback's going to keep it and run right back through where that linebacker had just vacated, okay? And again, this is another simple one. Doesn't change anything for the offensive lineman. Same thing as zone lock for them. It's just instead of an RPO tag, it's more of a quarterback double option, right? Quarterback's looking to either hand it off or keep it out the backside. Same look down here out of a 20 personnel set or 11 personnel. I know, a lot of people call it different things against an odd man front, but zone lock for the offensive lineman. Okay, read the backside linebacker for quarterback to keep it or hand it off based on his play, trying to escape through that backside B gap as they over pursue. Okay, next one is toss read. This is a really good one. I like this one. I kind of like this one better than traditional power read because I feel like it presents a much more immediate threat on that defensive end. A lot of us probably play some really good defensive ends in high school that are able to, mesh charge or try to maybe take the back and then muddy things up for the quarterback. And so I think toss read is a good change up here to your traditional power read because it puts a much more immediate stretch on that defender. So for me, when I run something like power read, I like to have somebody on the inside and somebody on the outside for that play side linebacker. Now, if you got a really fast running back and you feel like on that toss, you can get outside of him, then that's another advantage I think that this tag has over traditional power read is if you've got a play side linebacker that's already leveraged pretty strong play side and you don't have somebody coming from the outside to seal him in, a lot of times he can run that back down, but it's not quite as easy when you're tossing the ball out to the running back. Now, and again, This is another easy way to change up your alignment tendencies, okay, with the back on the same side. So this here is toss read. And again, great thing about this is for your offensive linemen, they're just blocking power, right? So if you already run power, then nothing changes for the offensive lineman, right? They don't even need to know that there's a tag. They're just running power, except now instead of kicking the end like you normally would, you're going to read the end, right? So the quarterback now is the inside runner, and the tailback is now the outside runner, okay? And instead of coming from on a flat path, right, he is now on the same side. So quarterback reads the defensive end. At the end, squeezes, toss the ball out to the back. You've got somebody leading up there to seal or work up to the next level. You can run this out of 20 personnel. I've got it drawn up down here out of 10 personnel from a trips look, okay? And again, depending on that linebacker's alignment, you might not need to have somebody come seal him there if you feel like your back can really out-leverage him on that toss, which again is one of the reasons I kind of like this version better than traditional power read, okay? So that's a great quarterback's just going to shuffle, boom, boom, shuffle for 2 steps, shuffle, shuffle, read the end. If the end plays out, right, he maybe tries to peel and chase that back. Quarterback keeps it right there in the box for the traditional power play with your offensive lineman blocking gap down backer and pulling around, okay? And again, we'll watch some film a little while later. All right, so shovel, this is another variation of your power read, all right? On this variation, your quarterback is now going to be the outside runner, and your shovel guy, whoever that may be, is going to be your inside runner. This is a great set to run from empty. If you want to maybe motion somebody in real fast, this is an easy way to get the ball to your H back, right? If you want to maybe go like empty with an H still in the backfield, right? So there's 4 wide, but there's still an H in the backfield. So like I said, this is great from empty. You bring somebody in from motion real quick. And again, nothing has changed for the offensive lineman as far as they're concerned. You're running power. Leave the end unblocked, read him. Quarterback is now the outside threat, and your shovel is now the inside threat. So if you maybe line up in an empty formation, right, you quickly motion your back in, snap it right as he gets to about the guard's butt. Quarterback is going to run out, read the end. If the end chases the quarterback, you shovel it right underneath. To your inside runner. You can run it from a regular set with the back aligned beside the quarterback. Sidecar is what I call it. And he just comes underneath. Again, quarterback is the outside runner. Read the end. If he squeezes, quarterback keeps it on the perimeter. If he takes the quarterback, you shovel it underneath. And again, the third alignment down here is again like a trips look. Or excuse me, I should say a 4 receiver look, but you still have an H in the backfield. Okay, I really like this look. If you have a running quarterback, right, because now you can line up in your 4 receiver sets and still have a 6 blocker in the box, okay? So I really like these formations. But again, quarterback is the outside threat, offensive line's blocking power. H-back in this context is your shovel guy, right? And like I said, if you've got a guy on the team that you're like, man, he's a good athlete, he can do some stuff with the ball, but we're just not sure how to get him the ball. We don't want to line him up at receiver. We don't want to line him up at tailback. Well, these are great ways to get those types of players the ball with just a little shovel and let them go with it.
Hey, Coach, do you have your quarterback slow play that at all? Because in my experience running this, if he's too fast coming out, really that pitch, if it is open, probably not going to happen because he's too far outside. So what's your technique with the quarterback?
Yeah, it can vary. You know, it might vary a little bit depending on your quarterback speed, but it's kind of the same technique. You kind of slow play it at first, and he's really going more, a little more downhill, right? Then maybe I have it drawn up, but he's going to go a little more downhill, and he's looking for that shovel, right? So he'll kind of slow play it at first, kind of turn his shoulders as he's looking to go outside and get a little more downhill at an angle, and then read that. It's a pretty quick read, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He'll be able to see it real quick, and that defensive end, whether he chases or goes. But yeah, that's a good point, right? You don't want to just have your quarterback sprint to the sideline immediately because that shovel will never be there. So it's a little more downhill, right? Kind of get the shoulders square or get the shoulders turned a little bit to sell that look, and then kind of slow play it, and then you'll have your shovel underneath. But that's definitely a good point. Okay, next one, this might be like my favorite tag out of all of them outside of maybe bash, but is the shovel triple. So now we're taking the shovel option, right, the shovel play, and we're adding an outside pitch player too. So now we're really getting into like old school triple option principles, right? So this is another great look from empty using quick motion. You can utilize multiple players of the shovel or pitch, right? You can have your H-back be the shovel guy. You can have your tailback be the shovel guy. Have your tailback be the pitch guy. Have a receiver in the slot be the pitch guy. There's a lot of variety you can use with this concept. It stretches the defense on the perimeter. Another easy way to get the ball to the H-back. And a lot of defenses aren't used to necessarily having to play triple option principles anymore. So I dug up some old 2003 Utah footage for this one because I think they did maybe the best job of it. This is where I really kind of fell in love with the play. But you can see here, you maybe start from an empty set, bring your tailback into the box real quick. And so now we're reading the end, and then we're pitching off the nickel or whoever that flat defender may be. You can see our H coming in to get in pitch relationship. You can do that from this empty set like I have here. You can do it from a 20 personnel set here with the H being the shovel guy, the tailback being your pitch guy, or you can do it maybe from like a trip slip with now your tailback being the shovel guy, and again the H being the pitch guy. And so the first part right here really is just similar to just like we were doing with the shovel read. Quarterback's gonna slow play it just a tad to see what his read is, get his shoulders turn, and you'll be able to see it on the film and make his decision off that end. If the end crashes and takes away the H, he is now sprinting at that flat defender or whoever we've identified as the pitch key, sprinting at him to present him, with a problem. Do I take the quarterback or do I take the pitch key, right? And again, we're working on our perimeter blocking here, okay? And so you guys have seen we've got zones tags, we've got gap run tags. So hopefully, whether you're a zone team or a gap scheme, hopefully you can take something away from these, because I try to get a little bit of both from zone and gap schemes. But this might be my favorite one, honestly. I just really like it, and you'll see Utah run it really well.
Coach,
yes,
sorry,
sir.
another question. Is your H coming in motion on the top and bottom, or is that post snap his movement?
Yeah, that's post snap. He's just gonna, and you can toy with that based on the alignment. You might have him in closer where he doesn't necessarily have to come in. But like when I was at Northside and we ran our triple option from the spread, we would have our slot, but just to kind of help him get in better pitch relationship. He's going to take about 1, 2, 3 steps back to the quarterback and then go back, so he's in better pitch relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
And and you can change up your alignment. You can have him line up maybe a little bit tighter, maybe in like maybe a stack look or a bunch look. But from kind of out here in this slot, what we kind of did at Northside to help us get in a better pitch relationship, but he's going to take about 3 steps back to the quarterback and then get back downhill just to help with that pitch relationship.
Okay. Coach, do you have blocking rules for the lineman up front for this?
It's just power. It's just power.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. See, so nothing changes for them. So between the toss read, between the shovel, and between the triple option, the offensive linemen are all running the exact same play.
Gotcha.
So nothing changes for them up front.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So as far as terminology, do you always say power? Like, because obviously the backfield's doing something different, but the blocking's the same.
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of depends on your terminology, right? Whether you're, use numbers for your plays or whatever, but if you want to just, you could just call this psycho, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you could just call it triple, whether you use signals or whether you still huddle up or however you communicate your plays, whatever you want to call it. Let's say power is, Pittsburgh for you, right? So if you got Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh right, psycho, right? And so that the Pittsburgh tells the offensive lineman what to do, and now the psycho tag tells everybody else what to do.
Okay.
And everybody's terminology is a little bit different. So if maybe power for you is 36, right? And maybe you want to be a little bit more specific. So you could say, 36 T shovel H pitch, whatever your terminology is specifically. But yeah, you call, the way we did it really when we wanted to have tags, we just tagged our base run concept that tells the offensive lineman what to do. And then the tag was towards the end, which adjusted everybody else.
Okay.
So the next one is some zone midline stuff, right? So, a lot of this stuff really is just kind of taking some of the old school triple option football rules and just applying it to a spread offense, right? I know we're all probably familiar with, midline out of a flex bone set or something like that. So this is just kind of the spread offense version of midline. So the quarterback's going to read, let's say we're running outside zone, right? Quarterback's going to read the first backside defensive lineman, okay? Head up to the center or backside. The offensive linemen are all going to follow your wide zone or outside zone rules on the front side, but on the backside, they're going to leave the first defensive lineman unblocked and then lock on to whoever the next one is, right? So like a tackle is going to lock on to like a 5 technique or something, okay? And so this is a good one because you take advantage of a player he's not used to being left unblocked, right? Those 3 techniques or those nose guards, aren't used to being left unblocked a lot of times. You don't see a lot of teams nowadays, especially spread offense teams, right? You don't see them running a lot of, trap or midline or stuff like that. And so, all of a sudden they're unblocked. They don't realize what's going on and somebody's out the gate. Okay. And the big thing about this is your backside guard has to take care of the backside linebacker, either seal him off or wash him down, depending on his alignment and his pursuit of the ball. Okay. So here's what I mean, right? So we got a 3-3 stack. Look at the top. Our first defensive lineman head up to the center or backside is the nose. So the center is going to rip through him, leave him unblocked to go cut off this linebacker, right? Everybody on the front side is running outside zone. The backside guard here is going to work up, in this case, probably going to look to seal that linebacker on the backside. Tackle takes the end. Quarterback is going to read the nose. Tailback is running simply his outside zone path from shotgun. If the nose decides to chase the center, right, or to chase the back real hard, quarterback's going to keep it and go out the backside. All right. If the nose just sits there, right, he's like, oh, crap, I don't know what to do. I'm not getting blocked. Then you just hand it off, right, and you've got your wide zone taken care of on the front side here. Same look down here at the bottom from a 4-man front. Okay, we've got a 3 technique. He's the first defensive lineman, head up to the center or backside, so he's unblocked. All right, guard is going to rip through, look to seal that backside linebacker. Tackle on the backside is going to lock on the end. Everybody else on the front side is running outside zone, and the quarterback now is going to read the 3 technique to either hand it off or escape through the backside A-gap. And again, everybody is running outside zone just except for your 2 backside guys. Okay. Zone slip. This is another one I like. Auburn. I'd really like this play from Auburn. I think it's who I first saw run it. Zone slip. So basically on this, the quarterback's going to be reading the backside defensive end. So your offensive linemen are just running zone. Nothing changes for them. And you're going to have a player from the backfield running a shoot route or an arrow route or whatever you want to call it. This could be a great way to get the ball to your H-back. Again, as I mentioned, you can incorporate motion from a spread set to bring a skill guy into the backfield, right? So if you've got a speedy little, slot receiver, you can actually motion him into the backfield and snap the ball, right, as he's coming across before the defense has maybe time to rotate to whatever their check might be. And then you can also combine this with the lock tag to read the backside linebacker. So there's actually a couple of variations of this that you can run depending on what you want to accomplish, right? So down here in the bottom left, it's kind of the base way to run it. You can have your H line up on either side of the ball. He can come across like a divide zone look. He can line up on the same side if you really want to put an immediate stretch on those guys, all right? And this can be run and executed like a triple option concept if you want it to, right? So quarterback's reading the defensive end for the handoff on the zone. Again, nothing really changes for the offensive lineman. If the end squeezes, you just get it out there to the H right now. And again, you can run this as maybe just a double option variation, or if you really want to, you can have your quarterback carry out to more of a triple option look. It just kind of depends on how you want to do it, what you feel like fits best for your guys in those positions, okay? Up here in the top left, let's say like this is a fast slot receiver guy. We want to get him the ball. We're going to motion him in really fast before the defense has time to adjust maybe or to roll down. We're going to snap it, read that in. If the end squeezes, we get the ball out to our slot guy in the flats in a hurry. Probably going to be able to out-leverage the defense. Now, on the right side here, you can see I've got the lock variation, okay? So we can lock the backside tackle on the end, and we can actually read this backside linebacker, okay? If that linebacker wants to try to fit up in that B gap and take away the zone, we just hit our H coming out of the backfield. We've got our perimeter blocking, all right, and we can hopefully get them out leveraged, okay? And same thing down here, look, with the 3-3 look. If the linebacker decides he wants to run out there in the flats and take that H, then we can simply hand it off on the zone, and we've got 5-on-5. So I like this variation. Like I said, I think I really first saw Auburn running it, so I got some clips of them using it. And again, when you're reading the end, you can make that a triple option variation if you want, or if you really want to kind of keep it simpler and make it more of a safe double option RPO type look, you can run the lock variation and just have your quarterback read the backside linebacker. Okay. Next is probably maybe my favorite one, bash, just because it's so simple, but there's so many things you can do with it. Bash means back away. And I really got this from Ohio State. I like them using it. I know Urban Meyer talks about it, although I did actually see a few high schools doing this before I heard them talk about it. But the quarterback's going to read the backside defensive end for a sweep on the backside or to execute the front side run call. So essentially your running back is going to line up on play side, and he's going to run a sweep to the backside away from the run call. All right. And your quarterback's going to read that backside defensive end to either hand the sweep or to execute the front side concept. It's almost like power read, but backwards. You're just reading the backside defensive end. You can combine it with jet sweep motion. This attacks the defense on both sides of the formation because you've got a sweep going out the backside, but you still have a front side run concept they've got to defend. It attacks the perimeter if you get the ball in that back's hands or on the sweep. And the cool thing about bash is it might be one of the best ones to run with zone or gap schemes. You can really run it with both. Okay. So like GT counter is a great one to run bash on. It's such a good concept. So you're going to have GT counter. All right. We're going to run GT counter to the right, but we're going to run bash. So what that means is the quarterback's the primary ball carrier for the actual concept we call. So the tailback's going to run a flat path across to the backside. Quarterback's going to read the end. At the end, chases the sweep. Quarterback's going to shuffle 2 steps, make his read, and then take the ball back to the front side. And really the timing ends up is about the same as you would if you were just handing the ball off. Down here in the bottom, we've got a zone call to the front side, and we're going to read this defensive end. So our quarterback's going to shuffle. The tailback's going to run his flat sweep path, read the end. Your tackle here, depending on this linebacker's leverage, he can take whatever he thinks is the best angle to attack that linebacker. Maybe if that defensive end is really tight, like a 4, and the linebacker's stacked right behind him, or maybe even slightly outside average, you might feel comfortable giving your tackle permission to outside release to actually be able to seal that linebacker. Because the last thing we want here is for the end to squeeze really hard and the linebacker to chase us down. Okay, so this is probably something that's better with a tailback that has a little bit of speed, right? You might not necessarily want your 230-pound, I formation tailback running this play. But if you got a guy with some speed, this is a good concept to be able to outflank the defense and still have whatever your base concepts are on the front side here. On the flip side of that, we have bash tossed, right? So kind of the same principle, but now instead of a sweep, okay, instead of a handoff on a sweep, we're going to be tossing it. And again, this might be even better in terms of putting some immediate threat on those defenders because it's going to happen so fast, right? So again, very similar. You can break your alignment tendencies with this. And you can also use a swing pass here instead of a toss. It's just whatever floats your boat, right? Whatever you want to do. I've got some footage of Alabama using it with a toss or with a swing instead of the toss. All right. So again, up at the top here, we got GT counter to the right. We've got bash toss. So now the quarterback is going to shuffle, read the end. If the end squeezes, toss it out to the back, let him get on the perimeter, let him do his skill guy things. If he chases or peels with the back, quarterback shuffles and keeps it and executes the GT counter to the front side. Again, might want to have a guy come and help seal this linebacker here. But if you feel like your T or your tailback is a guy that can outrun that linebacker, maybe based on his leverage, or maybe if it's based on just a personnel thing, you might not necessarily have to have this guy. I just drew him up there just, as kind of a base thing, right? But you might be able to line up in a 2x2 set if you feel like you've got a back that can really outspeed some guys. So this is a great concept, I think. Put some immediate stress on that end, right? He's got, his tackle is pulling away, but his back he's getting a back flaring out to the other side. He might not know what to do. So I think this is a good look if you want to be able to change up your alignment tendencies, because now you've got your H and T stacked over here, and there's the T's going one way, but the pullers are going the other way. So I think that's another great change up. Okay, so that's kind of the rundown of the 10 different tags. And so if we want now, we can kind of go through and look at some different film, okay? Can you guys still see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so we'll start off looking at some of the zone lock stuff. And I went through and I got a bunch of different colleges to look at instead of just one team. I don't have any high school film of this because we didn't really run our quarterback last year, and I don't have any film of the previous school I was at. But I went through, found a bunch of different colleges to look at because I think you can see a variety of formations and looks and stuff. And so we'll look at USF a little bit right here, running some zone lock stuff. So you can see they're running inside zone on the front side. They've locked on the backside tackle and the guard. They're going to read this linebacker.
It's on your PowerPoint.
To the screen. You can see it from the end zone here.
Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
It's on your PowerPoint.
Oh, it's still in PowerPoint?
Yeah, there's no film.
Okay. Let's see. I think I might have to switch it. New share. Yeah, let's do this. There we go. Can you see the film now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that.
No,
Still kind of getting the hang of this stuff,
Yeah.
So we got zone lock here. All right. We're going to run zone to the right. We're going to lock the left guard and left tackle. Notice he's covered. The left guard is covered. So he's going to block it up. He's going to base block it. So we're running zone here. Quarterback's going to read this defender because he's the unblocked defender for the run or pass give. And again, this is probably your base RPO tag that you might want to use. And we'll just look at a couple of each one. I know I don't have, forever, but we'll look at a couple examples of each one. If you guys have any specific questions or you want to see more of one than the other, you go ahead. So they went with the zone lock here, and the defense decided to go a little bit of a twist here, but you can still kind of see the principle. The left guard and the left tackle are looking to man block, okay, essentially be locked on while the front side is running inside zone. Quarterback's reading the backside linebacker. We'll watch maybe one or two more, and then we'll get into some of the different ones. So we're in a zone to the left. Right tackle locks on. Quarterback reads the backside linebacker. So the right guard and right tackle are trying to lock on. Guard takes him, opens up a little bit of a hole, and goes through there. Okay, like I said, pretty simple concept. Okay. So let's look at some of the divide arc stuff, the bluff arc I talked about. So this is one where we're going to have the H come across, making it look like maybe a split or a divide zone. He's going to bluff the block and then wrap around. And you can see he literally tries to bluff and fake that defender out as he works around. Now you've got an extra blocker on the perimeter for the quarterback. We'll watch the end zone copy. And you'll watch the H. He'll give that defensive end a little head nod, right, like he's trying to bluff him.
Mm-hmm.
And gets out there on the perimeter. And we'll see. I got another one here. Same look. We're gonna bluff it, boom, and work around. On that time, he gave it.
Did they bring an extra guy on the edge here, Alabama?
Yeah, I think they walked him down.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they're still reading the end man on the line of scrimmage.
Yep, still gonna read the end man. Because especially with this look right here, once they adjust, you're expecting some kind of game. You're expecting that end to crash down hard.
Right.
So the tackle's just going to take him. So there's a couple of looks at the bluff divide or the divide arc, whatever your terminology is you want to use. We'll look at some power toss next. I got a few clips of that. So you can see quarterback here is reading the play side defensive end. You get the ball to athletes out in space, good things happen. Going to read the play side defensive end here. Offensive line just executing power. The defensive end tries to take the quarterback, toss the ball out there. And this is what I'm talking about when I say I think this presents a more immediate threat. The defensive end is outflanked right now.
Mm-hmm.
That back outside. And like I said, you get the ball to athletes in space, good things usually happen. Let's check out another power toss. And I think this is great for your alignment tendencies, right? It's kind of a change up, you know, because a lot of teams are probably thinking, well, maybe counter coming back to the right, or maybe some kind of zone look, not necessarily thinking they're going to get power back in this direction with the back toss out that way. And squeezes, you've got them outflanked. Just try to let your guys go make plays in space.
Now, Coach, this is more about like formation, but both times I saw with the power toss, that H-back, he's lined up, not so much here, but he's lined up obviously outside because that's where the play is going, as opposed to when you're running read and he's arcing back across the formation, he's more like in the B gap.
Yeah.
For you, is that two different formations? So terminology wise, do you call that something different, or are you just telling your kids have common sense?
Yeah, you just tell them cheat for success. You know, just tell them cheat for success. Now, if you got a pretty athletic kid back here, you can tell him, hey, you line up behind the tackle every single time. I don't care what the play is. But, you know, if it's probably your average high school kid, they might need to cheat for success a little bit and, you know, maybe get a hair wider or a hair tighter. And again, that's when you as a coordinator, you as a planner have to be smart and try not to tip your hat too much with those regards. But yeah, he may need to change his alignment up a little bit, but no, I would not categorize those as two different things. You know, unless you're saying maybe like, hey, he's out here in like a true wing look, then maybe, but even then probably not.
Okay. That's one big conversation our coaching staff is having right now, is getting that message across with, you know, when the play's going outside to hit to the H's side or coming back across. Do you call it something else, or do you just common sense, like you said, cheat for success? So
yeah, and you know, it may depend on the kids you got, right? If they're smart enough to realize that, you might be able to tell them, hey, just cheat for success, or if not, you know, you might need to help them out and have a formation tag with it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So last time here, again, you get the defense outflanked right now. Hopefully your back doesn't fumble the ball like that, young man. Okay. Another look at power toss, and then we'll look at a few other examples. We got Penn State, Ohio State here. I really loved watching these Penn State teams play. In takes the back, tries to peel in the back, quarterback keeps it, executes the power play. Defensive end takes him, quarterback keeps it up the middle for a nice game. Okay. All right, so we'll look at some shovel variations now. So this was Pitt. This is some of the stuff that they got a lot of attention from them when they ran it. So Pitt would do a cool variation, and this is kind of something you can do if you maybe don't have a run threat quarterback, but you still want to run some type of power read or shovel. This is what Pitt would do. They'd have their back come across, and quarterback still reading the end. If the end decided to take the back, he would just shovel it underneath instead of having the quarterback be the run player. So if you don't have maybe a quarterback who's really a mobile threat, this is another good variation where you can still kind of change things up a little bit. And again, maybe get your tight end or H-back player of the ball. Got a couple variations of those. So you see they line up in a spread set. They bring him into a tighter alignment. And this is really like the triple option look.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got three possible threats here. We've got a shovel underneath, which would be like your dive, then your quarterback, and then your pitch player. And again, a lot of defenses don't account for that H back, being a ball carrier when he's lined up in that H position. Okay. All right. Real quickly, I'll show you some 2003 Utah. This nice grainy VH footage, but hopefully you kind of get the idea. So they're bringing the guy in motion into the backfield. Let's kind of skip the one where we got a little bit more of the wider view. So line up in a spread set. Bring a guy in motion, and now he's the shovel player. Another way to get your slot guys the ball, maybe in unconventional ways. Going to read the end first. He widens, so we shovel it underneath and pick up a nice gain. Can run it out of a variety of formations. We got a little bunch overload formation. We're going to come back to the nub side. Quarterback decides to keep it for a decent gain. And you can see they're going to read and pitch. Now, it's really the defense actually had them outnumbered here, but you kind of get the idea, right? Sometimes you make somebody miss, makes you look smarter. We'll look at a couple more. I like this variation because you can run it out of so many different formations. You can see they kind of have like a little double slot look right here. Now, this is kind of what I was talking about with the guys coming back into pitch position. If you look at this player right here, you'll notice he kind of takes a few stagger steps to stay in that pitch relationship as he goes through.
Okay.
And you can kind of watch the quarterback here. I know you were asking about the quarterback earlier. You can watch him and see how he plays this end. Watch his technique, get the shoulders turned. And that's kind of the big point is get those shoulders turned so you can either take off or still shovel it underneath.
And you're not blocking the overhang defender, right? Because it's essentially triple if the quarterback keeps it. He's going to read that next level defender.
Right. We're gonna get out there, and if he plays the quarterback, we're gonna pitch it. So we're gonna read the end here first. You see they kind of got this double slot look again. Going to pitch it as he took the quarterback, and there you go. Okay. So next, let's look at a little bit of the zone midline. I believe I had some of that in here. If I can find it. There, let's look at the bluff or the slip. This is another one. Good way to get your H the ball. So this is the one where the H is going to come out of the backfield, and the quarterback's going to read the end to either hand it off or throw it. Now you want to catch this ball at or behind the line of scrimmage, so your perimeter blocking is still legal. That's kind of a key point, right? You don't want that guy to drift 2 or 3 yards down the field. You want to make sure he's at or behind the line of scrimmage so you can be blocking on the perimeter.
You guys normally always split flow that, or you do some same side stuff?
I've seen people do both. I've seen them split flow it. I guess it might be kind of determined off what you do. If you run a lot of divide zone, it might be a beneficial look to give them that split flow look. If not, it might be you just have them on the same side there, so you can kind of get that guy out faster, if that makes sense to you, Coach.
Yeah, we got a lot more mileage off the same side stuff than I thought we would this year, man. It was good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. You can do a lot of stuff out of that from that kind of stacked alignment, especially with some of these different tags and everything. So yeah, that's another good one. I think I have another good one here. This is another cool one too, right? Oklahoma did it, but they did it out of like two backs in the backfield, and they had this guy back to the quarterback's left come across the quarterback's face, and now he is the flat player, right? The arrow player. So I thought that was a pretty cool variation that I wanted to include in here as well. So you can run it from a split back look instead of that sort of traditional like 20 personnel H back look if you want to get maybe a more explosive athlete ball in space. So that's another really good look. And I really wish I could have found a clip from FAU. They were in a 4-wide set, and they motioned one of their slot receivers into that H position and ran it with him, and it was a nice little play. I think I have another one here. So this is Penn State. So there's another kind of split flow look, kind of from a condensed set, right? So you can run it from a condensed set, maybe spread them out, get the ball to your tight end in space. In squeezes hard. We've got the perimeter taken care of. We've got our athletic tight end with the ball in space. I like that one too.
Yeah, and I almost would you think teaching the quarterback to run to throw? Because if his he gets the read to keep the football.
Yep.
And run to throw the football. So if that tight end has that safety coming down hard on him, almost like in that last clip there, then that quarterback can keep for himself. Would you say that you would, is that something that you would consider as far as coaching it up that way, or is it automatic throw?
Absolutely. And that's if you've got that guy that quarterback that can be a dual threat, absolutely. You can make that make it that a kind of another true triple option type phase. And he kind of carries it out, and he's now quarterback, and your flat player, your arrow player is now basically a pitch guy, right? And make it a true triple option. Or if you maybe don't have a mobile quarterback, you can just kind of keep it as that double option type of look. But definitely you could definitely teach it as a triple option if you've got that dual threat kid at quarterback for sure. Okay. Last couple ones, we'll look at some bash and some bash toss. Okay. So again, bash is where we are going to be running a sweep path away from the front side. So the back is going to run a sweep to the left. Quarterback's going to read the end, whether to keep it on the inside zone or to hand it off on the sweep.
Was that inside zone there?
Yeah, so this is the offensive line is going to be blocking inside zone to the right. And this defensive end is going to be left unblocked, and he's the read key for the quarterback. So if this, for example, if this defensive end were to widen right here, the quarterback's going to keep that ball and execute the inside zone.
And would the quarterback's path be similar if it was the running back getting it, like on regular inside zone? Is he tracking the front
just
side
kind of track that hip and find a cutback lane if you can. And you can see it's really going to probably be a cutback play, especially with the quarterback, because you're probably going to teach him, hey, shuffle for one or two. Notice the quarterback shuffle. And so that really kind of sets you up for that natural bend back that happens a lot of times on inside zone, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll look at, I think I have a couple more here from the bash. So offensive line's going to be blocking inside zone to the left and squeezes. So we're going to give it to the back on the sweep path. And again, this doesn't have to be zone. You could, run GT counter right here, whatever front side play you want to run, as long as you just leave that backside end unblocked. So they're reading. In that case, they were reading that guy. He went inside. Quarterback knew he was going to hand it off. Okay. And then let's see. I think I have one more. Okay, so I think I thought I remembered to include this one. So this is a really cool version that UCF did. UCF combined bash with their sprint out passing game, right? So the offensive lineman is going to be kind of reach blocking to the right, like they're sprint out pass protecting. These two receivers down here at the bottom are going to be running a quick game concept. and the quarterback's going to read the defensive end to either hand off on the sweep or to execute the sprint out passing concept. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Was this with Scott Frost?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of creative things when he was
Yeah.
there.
I thought this was really cool. And funny enough, if I can go back real quick, when we talked about the shovel read for Pittsburgh, if I can go back and pull that up, Pittsburgh did a variation of that too, where they combined the shovel read with a sprint out pass concept. So somebody's coming underneath for the shovel, and if the defensive end widens, he shovels it underneath. But if the defensive end squeezes, the quarterback just continues on his sprint out path to work the sprint out pass concept, which I thought was really cool. So they would have the guy come underneath the shovel, and if he was there, quarterback would shovel it underneath, and if not, then he would execute the sprint out pass. Last thing we'll end with here is some counter toss. So this is like bash. This is bash, but it's a counter, or excuse me, it's a toss instead of the sweep. So the running back's going to be running the toss to the left, and the offensive line and the quarterback are going to execute GH counter to the right. So again, these principles can apply with your zone game or your gap scheme, whatever floats your boat. The quarterback's going to read this backside defensive end. He peels to take the toss. The quarterback keeps it on the GH counter.
Is that 5 being the outside linebacker?
Yeah.
It looked like he came down, right?
Yep. So he comes down.
Okay.
As soon as the quarterback gets ready to read him, right, the end is now gone inside. This is now your in-man line of scrimmage.
Right.
And so the quarterback just reads him.
So if he doesn't come down, though, would you arc 75 on GH counter? Or would you have him step inside? Or, I mean.
Well, that it kind of depends, right? This may have been a game plan specific thing that they worked on, right? My base rule is I would just go ahead. If I saw that, then yeah, I'm probably going to arc him, right? If I think I can get there, or inside releasing, depending on exactly what you're trying to do. It may have been a game plan thing for Clemson, but yeah. But if he wants to go inside like that, based on the tackles technique here, it tells me that they were reading him because maybe they were expecting some kind of game or something like that. But fundamentally, you're going to read this backside defensive end, but you might change it up for game plan specific stuff. And it helps when you got, like Deshaun Watson back there.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah. Got a couple other variations. So this one they ran towards on the goal line and scored.
Toss, yeah.
So here they're going to read this wide defensive end. He tries to flow the back. Quarterback keeps it on the GH counter back to the left. And the last couple of variations I'll show you are Alabama running it with a swing instead of a toss, which you get the same effect. It's just maybe you do one better than the other, right? So they're kind of doing the same thing here. They've got counter Trey to the left, back on the swing, and they're going to read that defensive end. He comes right for the quarterback. Quarterback gets it out. And I got one more variation of that, and that'll probably finish us up. So we got GT counter to the left. Back is going to swing out immediately. Quarterback feels like he can take it. Let's look at the end zone copy. End kind of plays in just no man's land here, so the quarterback feels like I'm going to keep it. He's got room to run, and there he goes on the counter Trey. So, whether it's the toss or the sweep or the swing screen, whatever you feel like works best for your guys individually, okay? So that's pretty much everything I have. If anybody has any questions or anything, I know, maybe not necessarily anything groundbreaking, but I feel like those are some good tags to add to your fundamental, your base run concepts.